So, one of the comics that Frank Hill sent me last year, it's Frank that is, was a collection of a miniseries that came out to help tie in to the IDW Sonic comic. And it featured, I should say, focused on basically two very popular characters that had basically garnered a decent amount of fans, basically a decent fan base, if you will, quicker than I think a lot of people expected them to be. Well, expected them to have, I should say. And the miniseries that focused on them, to me, is a prime example of why, folks loved these miniseries when Archie Comics did them. Because when Archie Comics would do them, focusing on a character or so, it would give you more development for that character. It would explore more about their background, and it would allow that character to do a lot more than they would in the main comic itself. And prime examples of that to me are, of course, the Princess Sally miniseries, the Tales miniseries, some of the miniseries that they would do for Sonic Universe, like Spark of Life, the I guess you could say loosely adapted Tales Adventure adaptation that they did in Sonic Universe, which also tied into the storyline of Tails accompanying, I should say, Antoine and Bunnie onto the honeymoon over to one of the private islands that he would go to for a break, relaxation, or whatever. A lot of these stories, like I said, are great prime examples of characters getting more development, more opportunities to really shine and show what they were capable of. Even with the villains, the anti-heroes, the antagonists, they got an opportunity to shine as well, like Scourge and Fiona. They all had these opportunities presented to them. And even with the Mobius Years Later storyline, when, they decided to cap that off a little bit, they did the same thing. They gave a lot of development to a lot of characters from that storyline, more so than we had seen in the past. I mean, they even gave Lala Sue some great development in a loosely adapted version of the Other M storyline that Ian Flynn had created as a fan, and made that part of the ongoing story arc for Silver, trying to find the perpetrator behind the destruction of his future, or be basically one of the main perpetrators that caused his future to become dissolution, basically disillusioning, obsolete, if you will, pretty much in ruins. And again, that story arc was a great example of giving a lot of characters development that normally you wouldn't see, along with some newer characters as well, alternate take on characters as well. And for me, last night, I felt like, just reading a little bit of the comic that Frank gave me, try to catch up on what's going on, because that's what I've been doing with these trade paperbacks that he sent me. I've been reading them as much as I can to catch up on what's happening in the IDW book. And when I read this, there was a moment in there that, again, exemplifies why people love it when Archie Comics did this, and now obviously love it when, IDW does this. And it is basically a moment that really, gets you thinking, and also creates, not just thinking, but also creates, development for the characters. And that, of course, is this moment here, where, Whisper finally lets loose and, lets, Tangle know that not only is she her friend, but, she doesn't want to risk losing her again like she did her other friends. And also what it does for Tangle is it shows that she's more than just an energetic, happy, fun-loving individual. That she can, it shows that she can be serious. She can take things seriously, and she can listen to people and everything, and understand, like, where they're coming from, and by learning more about them, help them out in the long run. And that one scene here really makes reading this story worthwhile, because she's able to, once they finally capture and stop Mimic, who betrayed Whisper and her friends to Eggman, Tangle's able to talk her down. She's able to talk her down and say, hey, don't do something you're going to regret. Because Whisper, she's so full of anger and everything and emotions that when they finally have Mimic down for the count, she wants to blow him away. She wants to kill him. But it takes Tangle to talk her out of it and make her realize, hey, it'd be more satisfying if he, rots in jail for what he did to you and your friends. And that's about it. As I check something here for a second, guys. And that's about it. She lets her know, hey, it'd be much more satisfying if he just rots in jail for the crimes that he committed, for his betrayal. And, that's what happens in the end. So, to me, not only is this story good because it gives us more background as to, why Whisper is the way she is, why she sometimes is reluctant to be around people, but over time learns to retrust and re-friend, if you will, others out there that, want to help her out, that want to do the right thing like what she wants to do. Not only is it a great, story in that way, but it shows, like I said, great character development for Tangle, because we see Tangle, we see someone that's like, yippee, and everything, and hey, let me use my tail as a slingshot kind of deal. It shows her in a different light. And I really appreciate that. And we've been seeing this character development that she got here showcased in other stories as well. Like I said, you see that character development that she got here in this book, really start to progress more so in later issues. I mean, you see it with the more recent issue and her befriending of Belle and her coming to Belle's aid and that kind of rubbing off on Belle and stuff. So you see that. Character development that she got here in this issue really starting to, essentially take off and, become more of what her character potentially, I should say, could be. So, I really think, if there's any story, in my opinion, that really justifies characters going through some great character development, as well as learning about, why they are the way they are, and it being able to, kind of change and learn to, trust again and, like refriend people, like I mentioned earlier. If you want a good story that feels identical to what you got in the IDW, not in IDW, but the Archie books that did the same things, like with Sally's miniseries, Tales, the various Sonic Universe stories like Spark of Life, and, and the loosely adapted Tales Adventure, and even Lockdown, and Mobius years later, the 30 years later one, and, and all that. If you want a good prime example, and one that feels like it's a Spark of Life inspired story, or in that vein, it's this. It's Tangle and Whisper, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just wanted to come on here, guys, and just give you a little bit of a mini review, or just give you my thoughts overall on the story, and mainly why I feel that Tangle and Whisper, basically gives off those Archie comic, miniseries vibes when it comes to focusing on characters outside of Sonic, like a Sally and Sally and Nicole and Bunnie and Antoine, all of them, if you will. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about Tangle and Whisper? What did you think of the miniseries overall? Do you think it really helped, develop Tangle's character to the point that that development continues to grow with her today, in recent issues? And what about Whisper? Did you like the take on her origins and why she is the way she is? And how she's being learned with her character development, not only to trust again, but to refriend others that want to help her and be her friend? What are your thoughts overall? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, check me out at my Teespring store, also check me out at BW Rose's Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses. VENMO at BW Roses. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 if you want to help donate there. And also check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses to help support me with the $1, $3 tiers. And if you're listening to the podcast of BW Roses Discussions Also, check me out at Spotify or Amazon and all that, places that would enable video podcasting along with audio, so you can get both, the best of both worlds, I should say. And also, if you're listening to the podcast on Anchor.fm, listener support is activated there if you want to help me out in that area as well. But again, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. What did you think of the, developments that we got, the character developments and growth that we got out of this that continue to this day? How did you feel about it initially? And that's all I'm going to say. So till next time, guys, I am out.